This is Hops and Spirits Bar Conversations. Come for the craft beer, bourbon, whiskey, and great drinks. Stay for the conversations. Here's your host, Jonathan Green.
Can you believe the calendar has flipped once again? And you know what that means. We're leaving Craft Beer 101 and going to Cocktails 101. And it means we're also 1 month closer to Whiskey Weeks and Whiskey 101 for our tasting notes. Jake Sulek will be joining us this month to go through all that you need to know with cocktails. And we've got a lot of fun for you this month as well. He brings a lot of knowledge, as always. For our conversation, we talk with artist and entrepreneur Kingsley, but also we have something pretty cool to talk about. We have the Hops and Spirits Jukebox playlist, which is on Spotify. You can get it at our any of our social media. Click on the link in our bio, and you can get a lot of the cool songs that you hear from the artists that are on the show, and some that are coming up. So if you want a little clue as to who's coming up, check that out. But like I said, Kingsley is our main conversation, but up next for Tasting Notes is Jake Sulek, as he gives us the basics on Cocktails 101. Enjoy.
It's almost time. Where did I put those? Here they are. It's time for Tasting Notes.
Joining us here on Tasting Notes once again is Jake Sulek, beverage director, partner with the Professors LLC. Jake, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan.
Well, I appreciate it as always. And now that we're continuing our summer learning series, you talked all things spirits, Spirits 101 in June with us. Kevin Patterson was nice enough to talk Craft Beer 101. But for which I think this is probably near and dear to your heart because we're doing Cocktails 101 this month.
It is. I've been really looking forward to this one.
Well, when it comes to things, as we go through the month, we'll talk about some different recipes, how to build off of those, and so forth. But before we even get to that, probably need to know the basics. So, with that said, what are some basics that people need to know when getting ready to do some home cocktail making?
Yes, it can be a little intimidating, especially if you just hop onto Google and try to figure your way out from there. So you really got to think about making cocktails at home 3 ways. You've got to have the right tools, the right glassware, and the right spirits or liqueurs. And you don't need 1,000 of each of those things. You just need to make sure you have the right type. And it kind of starts with tools. A lot of different sources will give you a list of different things you need, but it really comes down to about 4 or 5 things. You're going to need the right kind of shaker, a good bar spoon. You're going to need 2 different kinds of strainers, a Hawthorne strainer and a fine mesh strainer, and you're going to need the right jigger. But as long as you have those 5 items, everything else is kind of more of a cocktail 102 or 103 sort of purchase.
So now those strainers, what are you using those for, and what are they again?
Yeah, you're going to need 2 different kinds of strainers, and this is something that a lot of times online sources won't really explain to you. You need a Hawthorne strainer. It looks like a round disc with a spring around the edge. That's for straining an actual shaker tin that's full of ice. But for any drink that's got citrus in it, once it's been shaken, it gets a lot of fine ice shards. And the way that a good bar will keep those ice shards from getting into your cocktail is using a second strainer, and that's a fine mesh strainer. You'll see them online sometimes. It's called a tea strainer, usually only about $5 to $8. But what you'll do is you'll hold that underneath your shaker tin, and that'll get any of the ice shards out of your drink.
That is good to know. And then the shaker, too, I feel like that's important because you can go out, probably find a cheap one, and that can get the job done, but it can also cause some issues, too, I believe.
Yeah. It depends on you've got how many drinks you want to make at once. If you have a big group coming over and you want to be shaking 3 or 4 drinks at a time, you're going to need to get a decent-sized shaker. But if you're home alone, just making one, you really just need a small little 12 to 16-ounce one. And you really have 2 decisions. There's the Boston-style shaker. This is a 2-part tin. You used to see one of the parts be a pint glass. So you'd have one side is metal and one side's glass. Nowadays, most people just use tin on tin, so 2 metal pieces. They're a little bit better for shaking drinks because metal doesn't take as much energy to heat up and cool down, so you can cool down your drink a little bit faster with metal. The other kind is called a Cobbler Shaker. These go back about 200 years. These are a little bit more old-fashioned today. You don't see them in use a lot, but they're generally 3 parts. These are the ones that have the built-in strainer, the ones you typically see on a bar cart, sort of like in your grandmother's den. This is going to be the Cobbler Shaker. They're really good for one cocktail at a time. not so good for doing 2 or 3 at once.
And you also touched on you don't need to have every kind of liquor or liqueur. So what would you recommend for someone kind of starting out, or will it kind of also go through with maybe what you want as we go through some of these recipes?
Yeah, I'd start with what you want to make. Pick 2 or 3 drinks that you're really interested in making, buy the ingredients for those, and then use those as a roadmap to choose what you want to make next. For example, if maybe I'm doing a kind of Manhattan cocktail riff called a Bobby Burns. It uses Benedictine, for example, which is an herbal liqueur from the 1800s. I would go ahead and maybe say, well, I'm not using that in large quantities. What other cocktails use Benedictine that might be good for me to use? And that way I can expand my cocktail repertoire without necessarily having to buy 3 or 4 more bottles. And in that way, you can just kind of map yourself out. There's a really good online resource by Simon Difford called Difford's Guide. And what it does is it's got thousands and thousands of cocktails in its database, but you can actually just search by single ingredient. So in that way, you can kind of cross-index and narrow your search down to, well, these are the 60 cocktails that he has in his database that use Benedictine. And in that way, you can kind of very narrowly grow as you get better at making cocktails at home.
That is a good resource right there. I always wonder, what in the world am I going to do with this after I get something? And you also talked about glassware. Now, you can go crazy. You can be like me, and I swear I have about 2 cabinets full of glassware, but I drink a few different types of beer, cocktails, whiskeys, things like that. So when it comes to glassware, what do you need to be thinking about?
It really comes down to you need a decent-sized coupe and a decent-sized rocks glass. You can really get away with those 2 things. Now, if you want to start making drinks like Mai Tais or anything on crushed ice or juleps, you're going to start needing different kinds of cups and glassware. But it really just comes down to those 2. And for coupes, you really want to avoid the big ones. You still see a lot of oversized glassware on the market. Not as much as it was during the 80s and 90s, but cocktails were conceived to be really small quantities. So you want to get a coupe that's between 5 or 6 ounces, because all of the classic cocktail recipes, the finished drink is going to be 5 to 6 ounces. An 8-ounce coupe, you're only going to fill it up halfway. It's going to look silly. You're going to think you did something wrong. So you want to make sure you get smaller coupe size. Rocks glass really depends on what kind of ice you have at home. If you've got one of the large 2-inch cube molds that you can get from, say, Amazon, then you might want to go ahead and get a 10 to 12-ounce rocks glass. That way you can drop a big cube in. But if you've just got your normal ice cubes that maybe your freezer makes, then you can get something a little bit smaller, maybe like an 8 or a 9-ounce rocks glass will work great.
And you learn the hard way sometimes when you have those bigger rocks, as I did when I tried to put one in. I'm like, this won't fit.
Yes.
But thankfully, I had a few other options. Now, before we finish the basics, I'm always curious about this too, because I have people ask or go, all right, you put real lemon in it, or can you get away with the kind of not canned lemon juice, but the little squirt bottles of lemon and lime juice, or what does that do to a cocktail?
The squirt bottles don't really work, and the problem is they're designed to taste like lemon, but they don't really have the same levels of acidity. And that's what it really comes down to. The reason you use fresh lemon or lime juice is sort of twofold. One, you've got the right balance of acidity in the fruit, which for lemons and limes, they're both about 6% acidity, which is what you need for a nicely balanced cocktail. The other is, after you juice them, they start to oxidize, which lime's juice oxidizes in a matter of 4 to 8 hours. Lemon juice is pretty close to that, which is why if you juice a lemon or a lime and you have it the next day, it's going to taste kind of metallic, even a little bit bitter on the back end, and that's because the juice is actually deteriorating in quality. Now, there's some other sort of like more advanced hacks that you can find online to get around that. And some other tricks and things that you can create at home that can add acidity without necessarily requiring fresh lemon and lime juice. But I'd stay away from the bottles. They just don't really make for a really balanced drink.
And then last but not least, is there a big don't that people need to watch out for, or just something in general that they need to watch out for?
The golden rule when you're learning how to make cocktails at home is understanding the difference between stirring and shaking. If a drink has a dairy product, if it has eggs, or if it has citrus juice, you must shake it. And that's because the act of shaking, the ice bouncing back and forth and agitating the liquid, is going to cause emulsification to happen. So when you strain the cocktail off, you're going to get a homogeneous, completely whole cocktail. You stir a cocktail that only has spirits or liqueurs in it, and that way it's not going to add any extra oxygen to it. It won't get agitated. It's going to remain really clear and very silky in texture. Whereas a shaken drink, you're going for the agitation and the extra aeration in it to kind of create a finished product. So that's like the biggest rule to keep in mind when you're making drinks at home.
Those are some good things to consider. And as we go through this month, we'll go through 4 different recipes that you can build off of. And Jake, I appreciate it as always.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan.
Remember to check out Hops and Spirits on social media at Hop Spirits, all one word, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also find Hops and Spirits on YouTube and at hopspirits.com.
Joining us here on the Bar Conversation, she's a music artist. She's probably, we could just describe her as an artiste because of everything she does. She's an entrepreneur, business owner, beauty mogul. I think she does it all. And I hopefully will say her name correctly. Welcome in, KINGSLEY.
You got it. See? 3 times a turn.
I was worried because it sounds so simple, but I have been known, especially after a drink or two, to say things horribly wrong. But I think we're good tonight. And with that said, I've got a little bit of bourbon. It's from Sheridan, Oregon. It says it right there. I didn't see that earlier. Sheridan, Oregon, called Ransom Bourbon. You got anything good?
Sheridan. I got Shillings, which is the best local brand of cider in Oregon. Oh, actually, it's canned in Washington, and that's my bad. Don't tell anyone.
They're close enough. Close enough.
Delicious.
Now, I didn't ask this before, but I mean, I know you're not a bourbon drinker, but I'm guessing you do enjoy different types of alcohol.
Yeah, I'm a tequila girl. Tequila only makes me stronger. I like whiskey. I'll drink bourbon if I have to. I won't say no to a free drink, and I think that's the issue. If it's free, it's for me. So.
I like that. I like that. That is smart. That's a good way to go about. That must be that business side of you. Very frugal, very smart with the money, So, now, I
don't know if I'm smart with money. You can ask my
Now, I said as your name is KINGSLEY. Is that your given name, or is that what you have decided is your stage name? And is that always been your stage name? If so,
yeah, my given name is Rumpelstiltskin. I think that's what most of my friends call me. I'll take your firstborn child. No, I'm kidding. I have such a weird relationship with my name because originally my name was supposed to be Michael Eugene Lincoln, which was a boy's name, obviously. And back in the 90s, when you didn't know ultrasounds were as good as they were, I had my hands down where your PD goes, so the doctors told my parents, and this is multiple ultrasounds, right? This isn't the first time, and then they figure it out. I mean, this is all 9 months. My mom was like, "It's a boy, it's a boy, it's a boy," to the point where they had a boy baby shower. I had boy clothes. My name was picked in stone. I was the first son my dad was having. He cried to the gods, "Thank you." And then I was born and was not a boy at all.
Surprise.
And surprise. And my name is Mo because my dad could not let go of Michael. He could not let it be a boy's name, And so he was like, "Mo, you will be called this." And so when I got into artistry in 6th grade, my mom was like, "Well, you don't have to be your name. You can be whatever name you want to be." And so I'm Googling names and I'm looking it up. And I hate all these girl names. And serendipitously, I Google boy names and I find this name KINGSLEY. And I'm like, okay. And it was literally like the Chicago, Roxy type of a thing where they I could hear my name in lights, and all the jazz. And later in life went to college, learned branding, and was like, oh, this is actually a really great name with the crown and the purples and the golds and like having this regal personality. But yeah, so Mo by Given, Kingsley by Taketh, and really enjoy the duality of my life being two different people.
Well, and like I said, you do so many things too. You wear many different hats, and I mean, how is it balancing that? Because I mean, you're a musician. That's, if you do it right, that's a full-time gig. You're working with some beauty product lines. I believe you also have your own business. Like, how do you balance all this?
In a word, black womening, you know, we just do the damn thing. No, I love to work. I really do. I really enjoy working. I really have a blast getting to create every day, whether it's for my business, whether it's for Kingsley, whether it's for the makeup company, whether it's a music video or modeling shoot. My best friend's getting married and I was her maid of honor, and I planned her bachelorette party in Nashville. And it was 4 days, 14 women, and I planned everyone's outfits, right? I
Oh, wow.
love to do things. Oh yeah, we had disco night, 90s theme. We were the baddest girls there. It's incredible. And everyone's like, how did you do this? I love to plan. I love to work, and I have found myself in this journey when, you know, the music industry is very tough. I found myself finding more joy in things that you need to do, and I just have a blast doing it.
Well, and you're doing it very well. I must say, like I said, you've got the beauty line where you partnered with Event Cosmetics. What was that like, and what drew you to that?
Yeah, Event Cosmetics, man, it's very serendipitous. My best friend, Haley Johnson, who I am her maid of honor, she is an incredible musician. She was on American Idol. She plays bass for Big Wild. She's been overseas for touring 3 or 4 times. I'm riding her coattails. She tells me she's riding mine, but I'm like, no, girl. Her mom worked at this makeup shop, so we would often go in to like catch up with her mom, get our makeup done, get facials. And when COVID happened, I lived 10 minutes from the shop, so I was doing like my neighborhood walk so I can stay fit during COVID. And she was in the shop, Kathy, and I just bang on the door and I'm like, oh my God, Kathy, is Diane in? I haven't seen Haley's mom in so long. Like, how are you guys doing? And we just talked about life and what was happening with her business and what was happening with my album, and came up with the idea that when my album comes out, we would do one lipstick with the album. Well, that turned into the best gift music could have given me, which was 3 lipsticks for all 3 of my singles, that each lipstick represented my music in a way that I had never interpreted before. And once the album came out, we grew the collection more for people who are non-lipstick wearers but want to take care of your lips with like a lip scrub and a vitamin E stick. And I get so much joy that I get to talk about these products and represent this beautiful business and teach women, men, and non-binaries and every person on this beautiful earth how to feel beautiful, which I didn't have when I was a child. So I am just honored and so humbled and lucky to be a part of this collection.
And you know, you mentioned, you know, you have it morphed into the 3 different shades and the 3 different singles. How involved were you? Like, were you right there with them, testing it, figuring it out down to the like finer details? I mean, how was that? And I'm guessing you probably learned a lot.
Oh my God, I felt like Rihanna. I was like, this is how she feels. Um,
That's
it
a
was
good feeling.
incredible. Yeah, if you can feel like Rihanna at least once in a day, that's a pretty good day. Um, I would try the makeup on or the lipstick on, tell her what I didn't like, tell her what I liked, and Kathy would be like, okay, we'll take it to the lab. We'll take it to the lab. And I learned so much about what makes a product vegan, what makes a product natural, like what you're actually chemically putting on your face. Like, because I was a Walgreens girl. If it was on sale, I'm gonna buy it. And I still stand by that. But now I know at least what I'm putting on my face. No, I was so involved. I was literally from the branding to the boxes. I designed the boxes myself. I know Photoshop. I studied it in school with my business degree, so I designed the boxes myself. The way that it's packaged, the note that you get with it, to the purple packaging it gets shipped with. Literally everything was all me.
Well, and you touched on it. You have a business degree. You also have a vocal performance degree. I feel like you were just destined for this, to do everything.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious. The 2 degrees was definitely for my father of like, you're going to go to school and you're going to do better than all your friends. You got to get 2 degrees, can't get one. Can't get one. Or you're a black girl in America. You can't get 1 degree, you got to get 2. And I was like, if I'm going to
Thanks,
get 2, I'm
Dad.
going to pick
Thanks, Dad.
so that was really awesome. Thank you. No, would not recommend that for anyone. Take your time in college, have a good time. Get as many student loan debts as you can. Who cares? I don't, just take as much money in from the government, take it all. No, I really got to see my mother owns a track team and she's a teacher and she's in her passion. And I got to see what it looks like to be in your passion, but not just to be in your passion, the hard work that goes behind it. So the long nights where you're up until 2 a.m. and you have to teach at 6 a.m. Coaching, having to drive 5 hours for the Junior Olympics, and coming back and then being a family person. I really got this great lens of what actual hard work that is not burnout hard work. It's hard work towards something that means something. And it is all attributed to my mother.
Well, and you grew up in a big family, a large family, and it's still large to this day. What was that like? And you mentioned your mom and dad kind of making you be a little bit of an overachiever, 2 degrees. I mean, what was it like growing up with 8? There's 8 of you, if I'm not mistaken.
There is 8. We're all still kicking. So there's still all 8 of us. There's never a dull moment. My youngest sister is 13. And even just like being home, I was home 2 weeks ago, and the chaoticness of the home of just if you want quiet, that is not the home to go to. Because I was in a podcast interview and my dad is yelling across the table for me to ask the interviewer where he's from, and I'm like, Dad, the questions are predetermined. I don't think you know how it works. And he like comes in the camera and I'm like, this is my dad, hello, hi. I'm embarrassed and I'm sorry, but you have to keep this. This is it. This is who we are. I think a lot of my personality comes from having 7 siblings. Of like, I had to speak up for myself at a very young age, otherwise you'll get drowned out. So I'm a very loud person, but that's because you have to be louder to be heard. I eat when I'm hungry, because if you didn't do that in the Lincoln home, you wouldn't get to eat. So like, come when dinner is ready or don't come at all. So yeah, I'm very thankful. I love all my siblings to death. They're crazy. They're insane. They are like me times 10. So.
And did your dad ever get the boy? Did he ever get a son?
He got 2 boys, not me. Got 2 of them. So my 2 brothers, it was 6 girls and 2 boys. And that didn't help him because it was literally 7 women in the house. So I was like, I don't know what you did to women in your childhood, but like, you got a lot of karma happening right now.
There's a lot going on there. I'm only surrounded by 2, and I can only imagine with 6 or 7. So yeah, I can only imagine.
My mom is the leader. Yeah.
Now with that, I feel like it was a musical household. Now with what you were actually able to listen to, that might be a whole different story. But I mean, what was it like musically there? I mean, were there a lot of different things going on, or were you very only allowed to listen to like certain things?
Yeah, I want to tell people such a different narrative, because I'm like, God, it's so embarrassing to be like, my life came from Disney. Parents, right? They have 8 kids. And this is like the verge of the internet. So they're like trying to maintain a system that they don't know yet. So we got to listen to either Disney, Chicago house music, and I'm talking old Chicago house music, original, or gospel. That's it. Those were the choices. So I went so deep into Disney because my parents wouldn't monitor it. Right? I would just be like, I want this Disney CD. And they would look at the back and it'd be like Disney or Hollywood Records. And they'd be like, okay, you can have this. Right? So I was a big Jonas Brother fan, a big Selena Gomez fan. Demi Lovato taught me my stage presence to this day. Hannah Montana until she turned into Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber because he was signed with he was with Sony, but he had a lot of Columbia Records type-esque stuff, you know. So my like writing style is literally like High School Musical 1, 2, and 3. I can sing every lyric. I don't have any shame behind that. Like, let's have a High School Musical party. And I still watch Disney movies to this day. Like Turning Red is incredible. The music is pop music, such a good movie. So yeah, I'm a big Disney person.
Hey,
I have a subscription.
I was gonna say I get it. I got a 3.5-year-old daughter. She loves Turning Red. She was singing "I Want It, You Want It" there for a good while. That was her jam, and then now she's on to Sing 2.
That's a great one.
She's on to Sing 2. I know it's not Disney, but it's animated and a lot of music, and she is Team Johnny all the way. That's like her favorite. Mina's up there too, but Team Johnny all the way.
Same. Team Johnny until I die. Period.
So I get it. I get it, you know, and it's nice to see her move off the nursery rhymes and go to something that actually has some lyrics that I don't mind having in the car. Although 2 straight weeks of certain songs can get a little rough, but it's okay.
They won't grow out of that, because when I drive by myself, I will have the same song on repeat. I have no problem with it. No problem. I can drive 35 minutes listening to the exact same song.
I think she gets it from me because I have a bad habit of that as well. Now, you know, you've loved, I think, music all your life. I mean, was there ever a time where music wasn't part of your life?
Oh my gosh. No. And oh, there's a beautiful butterfly that I wish I could show you. I wish you could see it. It's beautiful. Oregon. It's just so beautiful. No, there's never been a time, and I was trying to think of like a moment where I was like not doing music. And I guess I wasn't doing I was doing music in college, but I was in an a cappella group. So that wasn't like
It's still music. I mean, it's some type of
yeah.
music.
Yeah, and I have the music degree. I think when I got to Portland, like establishing Kingsley, the first year I wasn't really doing music. I worked at a music venue. But I was still like learning who I was going to record with, you know, what my album was going to look like, trying to establish relationships, what my band was going to look like. So I guess the first year, which is hilarious because now that I think back, like the first year was like my hardest year when it came to like not feeling like myself. And that's probably because I wasn't doing music.
So you were meant to do it. That's what it all comes down to.
It's so cliche to be like, I hate saying this in interviews when they're like, when did you know you wanted to do music? And I'm like, man, I remember singing Alicia Keys' Falling in 3rd grade, and I didn't win the talent show because a 3rd grader is trying to sing that song. No. But I remember closing my eyes, and when the first notes came out, it was this sense of home. And it's something that only, like when surfers try to describe what it feels like to be inside of the tube, and they're like, you just have to do it to know the sense that like I have felt that home feeling, and I have been chasing it ever since. That everything else in life does not equate to that moment, and I just want to feel that moment. That everything else feels pretty irrelevant when it comes to life, unless I'm like submerged in music.
Well, I mean, I was reading there. I mean, you know, were singing at an early age, joined the choir at like age 8, taught yourself guitar and piano. I think you even had a group with your sisters at age 10. I mean, like, what is it about? What is it about music? Like, I mean, what is it that you just love so much about it?
Yeah, we have to put on the record, the group at age 10 was a spinoff of the Jonas Brothers. It was supposed to be called the Jonas Sisters, where we each thought we would be sister wives, where we were going to marry each of them. And it didn't work out because the world wasn't ready for that, and none of my siblings were ready to practice, including myself. So that did not take. And I think the world should know that the band Heartbuild, while it was a beautiful idea, not in this lifetime. But I think I have the like honor of knowing what gives me purpose in life. And I'm so very thankful, and I'm so very lucky to have this, because I know a lot of people have wavered and struggled with what they want to do. But what I've learned is you will, and this came from COVID because we didn't have shows. You will not always get to do the thing that brings you the most joy. So you have to learn how to find joy in everything else that can either be related to or subsequent to. And so because of COVID, I find more joy in podcast calls. I find so much more joy in doing markets where I get to talk about my lipstick collection where I'm not actually performing. I find more joy in the studio part of it. Mixing. I hated mixing. If you would have asked me 3 years ago about mixing, I'd have been like, that's none of my business. That's between my mixer and Jesus. Like, I don't know. Send me the track when it's very close to being done. So I think this new approach I've had on life, and it's because of COVID, to just enjoy the labors of music has made it more fruitful, more successful, and hot diggity damn, just so much fun, so much fun.
I love that. And, I know you grew up, near Chicago. Now that this is our third take at this, I've learned a few things along the way. So you grew up near Chicago. What did that have any impact on you? I mean, because I've talked to folks and they're like, man, I saw so and so, and that's exactly what I knew I wanted to do. I mean, or it was like I grew up in,
story.
or I had someone that grew up in DC and they had go-go music, like, and they just had a whole genre there that was theirs. I mean, was Chicago like that for you at all, or was it just a nearby town that you can say that that's where I was close to?
I have to say Chicago legally because I don't think people really know Plainfield. Like, that's where I'm from. Plainfield. The name is exactly how it sounds. I'm scratching so much because I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, but that's what you get for being in nature.
It's just because you're so sweet.
I think it's the cider. Should have switched to bourbon. That would have deterred them. But I think I loved Disney Channel so much. I saw myself in these characters, right? I think it's really hilarious that Hannah Montana's movie came out on my 16th birthday. And I had my sweet 16 at the movie theater watching this thing where she was these two people, Miley Cyrus and Hannah Montana. And I was Kingsley and Mo Lincoln, right? I was these two people. And my inspiration for music really came from this Disney Channel dream. It was a dream. I wish I had a story of I saw so and so, but it really wasn't. I just and maybe this is because I've been on this earth before, but when I sang that Alicia Keys song, it felt so out of body and so right, so much like myself that I wish I could attribute it to Chicago or anything. But in reality, it has been so much in me that it almost feels wrong to do something else. I could probably work at Verizon and kill it and be the best seller because I can sell you anything, probably bug spray right now. But I happen to love music so much that I know if I do anything else, it won't bring me joy.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, that 1 year when you were figuring things out in Portland, it sounds like you weren't you. I mean, but moving out to Portland after school, I know that's what you were like. I'm out of Chicago, and I also get the total thing about saying you're from Chicago. I say I'm from Pittsburgh because that's the closest thing you can find on a map. But technically, I'm from West Virginia, and then if I say I'm from Pittsburgh, it's someone from Pittsburgh, it goes horribly wrong. So I get that a lot. But what was it like for you moving out to Portland, and how's it been musically for you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can go so many different ways, but I'm going to start with the okays and end with the positives. I think Portland has so much work to do when it comes to catering and cherishing people of color and then the arts of people of color. And I think because it's a blue state, and I don't want to get into political rights and political wrongs, but because the state is blue and it shines to be inclusive, it really misses the mark. It really misses the mark on incredibly talented people. And I've seen it time and time again of Black artists not getting the roses they deserve in a city that, should love and care. So that's my but my amaze balls with Portland is because it is such a small city. If you are indubitably good and you like to talk a lot, you will move so quickly in this city, which is me. I talk way too much. So I have gotten opportunities of a lifetime in the last 3 years that would not happen in Chicago, would not happen in LA, would not happen in New York. I've gotten to open for people. I've gotten on festivals that, how the heck am I on this festival? And I'm talented, but also like, I don't have an agent. I'm not with a label. How the heck am I here right now? There's no way. And it's really because I was here in Portland, and I'm thankful for a city that lets you incubate, has an audience that will grow with you, will support you, and buy your merch and show up in ways that I don't think another city could ever do. And so because of that, I am right here right now. But because of what I mentioned at the beginning, I am leaving in 6 weeks. So duality can exist. I think I've overstayed my stay, and I'm like, okay, I gotta take my black ass talent somewhere else so that, you know, we can feel loved the way that every person deserves to feel loved. I just think, more times out of not, Black artists don't get the love they deserve.
Well, that's unfortunate because I know how talented you are. I got to listen to your albums out. I didn't get to listen to it. I was listening to it. And I'm going to say it correctly this time. Crying on Holidays. There's no "the" in there. It just sounds like there should be, but Crying on Holidays. Why that title? Because there's no song called that on the album. So how did that come about?
Yeah. I'm gonna crack open my next cider because I finished the first one.
That's all right. I already went to a second or third pour. I'm not sure what number I'm on yet.
So Crying. Did you? I'm not judging you. I'm a singer. I'm not a judge. That's for a reason. You're lucky I didn't go to law school. Okay, I'd be a really good judge, but I'm not. So Crying on Holidays originated from my mother, and so because I have a big family and I'm such a little family girl, I called my mother every holiday. I mean, we had Easter, and we still do. We have baby Easter where they have the cute little baby eggs, and then we have the adult hunt where there's like $300 in one egg, and you got to find the golden egg. Like, yeah. And when you're, 28 and you're hurting for some kid, yeah, you could really use that $300. No, I have a really big family, and I have very close with them. So I would call my mom pretty much every holiday, just crying that I miss them, or I'm fighting with my now ex. Like, we're fighting about whatever because he doesn't understand why holidays are such an important factor to me. So I'm crying to my mom, and she's like, you should write an album called Crying on Holidays, because you're not the only person who feels this way, who feels like homesick or is fighting, with family. And so the original project was supposed to be me writing about each holiday and how I felt. And when COVID happened, I got to rewrite this project because I had all this time. And I decided to rewrite it specifically about the breakup that I was currently going through. So my album is supposed to be listened from start to finish. And it takes you on a journey of literally my first time falling in love and my first heartbreak. And it is such a special moment that I get to share with people because I know the holidays can be a lot for some, and I know it could mean nothing for others. And regardless of how you feel, I know there's been one holiday that you cried on. So there's at least one song on my album that you will connect with.
I love that idea, and I also love kind of, in a sense, it's a concept album that's not exactly a concept album. It's telling stories, but I read too a while back. This was probably before maybe you even got onto this project. That you didn't want to write about love songs. Has that changed? I mean, or where do you stand on that?
I still don't. And my next album is I don't want to write about love songs because I didn't believe in love before I met this person. I was a player. I believe you should play the fields the way that, I don't know what his name is, but the way Kobe Bryant got all of them rings transferring through all those teams, right? You just gotta play the game. I'm a big advocate for dating. I'm a big advocate for being a hoe. I think you should just live your life. Marriage is terrible. Don't do it. No, I'm kidding. I think my reason to not write about love is because I don't like being unauthentic to myself. And I have to sing these songs every time I get on stage. And if I'm not giving you my most authentic self, then why am I stepping on the stage? with that, my next project, I kind of took a page out of Dua Lipa, who her Future Nostalgic project, she said in the Rolling Stones interview that it wasn't about a person that she was hoping to attract. And when she finished the album, she did. And it's not that I'm hoping to attract this person, but I'm hoping to find more joy in flirtation, to allow myself to give love freer because it is the greatest gift from this earth. And to not be so selfish with my love, and to not be so tainted after my heart was broken. I want to get back out there and just give the way that I love to give and be the way that I love to be. And so my next project called Come Find Me is simply that. I don't wouldn't say there are love songs, but I will say there is just so much flirtation and so much fun and passion and just free love to give.
Uh, so so with that said, when you're writing, because I've always been curious as to how folks attack a song, and sometimes it's like you said, it could be the hook, because of how you grew up with Disney Channel. Some folks, that's just kind of what they write, and they go into the writer's room and I got this part, but I need you to help out. Or others are like, I grew up in a small town, you knew who I was writing about. So like for you, what's it like writing songs, and where are you pulling from?
Oh my gosh. So with Crying on Holiday specifically, and I didn't realize I was like this. Have you ever seen Tick Tick Boom? It's about the wonderful composer of Rent.
Mhm.
It follows his story. It's played by Andrew Garfield. So towards the end of the movie, he's like arguing with his girlfriend. And when he goes to hug her, he's like tapping on her back what the song would be. And I can tell you in the middle of an argument, I would think, oh, that's a good song lyric. That line right there, that's a lyric. And I wish that I wasn't like that. And you know what? Therapy has taught me not to be that toxic person. Okay, don't be that person. We all have faults. It's okay. Um, so previously, my writing would be like I would get into this crazy fight with my ex, and then I would go to my car and I would literally voice memo what I'm feeling. And it would be in song form because I've spent most of my life writing songs. So it's not hard for me to bust out a song because the emotion is finally there. For this next project, I had to sit with myself and be like, what do you want to feel? Like you're not these things. What do you want to feel? And even collaborating with more people because these are feelings that I don't really know.
I like that, and I'm sure even to this day, you probably on your phone have just random recordings of things, and you look back and go, "Why the hell did I record that?" Or, "Oh, that's a good one."
Voice memos and the notes, going back through my notes and seeing things, and I'm like, oh, she was not okay. She was not okay. And that's okay. And
It-
even with the voice memos, I saw at TikTok, this is like a year ago, that was like, you should voice memo how you're feeling and listen back to it so that you can irrationalize yourself. I talk so darn much in those voice memos. I couldn't even get through half of it listening back. I'm like, why is this 10 minutes long? You have so much to say. Too much.
a
Say less.
little TL DR or DL didn't too long didn't listen. Now, you mentioned you got new music. I'm guessing that you're working on that now. When can folks expect it? Because your last album dropped about a little over a year ago. So what's going on there? When can we hear something?
Yeah, this is not like me. Usually I'm like a project a year. When my first project came out, the next year I released 2 EPs, so many music videos, a single. I am learning to go with the flow and not pressuring myself to do things, which is all a part of learning and growing, and healing my childhood self. You have 7 siblings, you always want to prove yourself. And while I think that that is healthy, there was an unhealthy version of myself. So this next project, I'm taking my time. For the first time ever, I don't know when I'm going to release it. I know it'll be summer. I don't have exact dates around it. I don't know where I'm producing because I'm moving to London in September. I know I want to do my Kickstarter around October, right? And so these are new things I'm trying to instill in myself, that the music industry is not going anywhere. I don't need to rush art. No need to rush it. So I'm keeping my heart open. I'm demoing out right now. We have 8 songs demoed. Maybe they'll all be on there. Maybe they will not. Maybe it'll just be an EP and maybe it won't be an album. But I'm really excited for this project because it is the opposite of my last two projects.
Well, it's like you come full circle. You learn, you grow, just life comes at you and things change, and it's cool to hear that. And I also, on that last album, I believe I asked if you like drinks. You said you liked the tequila. You're a tequila girl at heart, but you did a cocktail book pairing to songs on your album. How does that work? And how much fun was that?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this started from the Kickstarter. And what not you trying to bite me on my boob, bro. It's just the disrespect, mosquitoes. So the Kickstarter, we had a level you could buy. It was like $25 for Portland only. When the album came out, we would have this rooftop. I'm starting to get tipsy. Can you see that? Rooftop listening party. And where you would get to get 3 different drinks that I would choose while we're playing my album. So when the Kickstarter got funded in February of 2020, that was okay. When March 2020 happened, that was not okay. So I was trying to figure out what the heck to do with this. These people paid me money and they will not get to go to this thing. I'm like, I don't know when. So I was talking with one of my friends and I was like, I think I'll just send them a recipe book, like, here's 3 recipes for the album. And like my lipstick collection, that turned into this incredible book where my brother's girlfriend did the artwork. My friend Karen drew up the recipes. I got to write the stories. And then from that, I was like, we should do a podcast on this because each song has a specific person that like made the song, whether it was the person who directed the music video, whether it was the band person who played on the live album, or the producer, or my bandmate who made one of my songs. There were so many people that got to be a part of this. So I got to do a 12-episode podcast where we made the drink, we get hammered, and we talk about the song. And it was just such a blessing. And I want to do that with every single project I ever put out. So not only can you like listen to the song and dance along, but you can make the cocktail that I believe the song represents. Right. And so therapy, the cocktail is called AMF, like the adios motherfucker, because therapy, adios motherfucker, like that is, you need that drink to listen to that song. And even I'm Fine was paired with the French 75, which the girl who wrote I'm Fine with Me, Ashley Curvavon, her late grandma drank French 75. So we attributed it to her. And every time I drink those now, it's such a beautiful moment. So this little Kickstarter thing turned into such a longevity project that I will continue doing forever because I talk so much shit about my ex in that book. You need to read it. I lay it all out. I'll lay it out. I'm like, I was wrong this much, maybe 22%.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, and I love too, because it was funny when I was learning about it. I was like, oh, I don't know. I do a lot of country, a lot of Americana, folk, and they're like, she did a cocktail book to her album. I was like, yep, gotta have her on. I gotta hear this story. Like how does this happen? And I love to so like when you were coming up with these, were you trying them along and going, yep, that's it, or nope, that's not it? Like how detailed were you? Oh my gosh,
yes. And shout out to Karen because she made every cocktail for me and I got lit that day. First off, the rule, like beer before liquor, you're in that is a rule. And also eat before you try that many cocktails. And I had never had the mule. I had never had the dark and stormy. And she made so many for me. She had 5 different books. She's like a licensed cocktail maker. 5 different books. She's flipping through. We're listening to the album over and over again. And I am just getting lit. And I'm cracking jokes. And she's like, write this down for the book. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're working. I
forgot. I mean, that's a good way to work.
Amazing.
That's a good way to work. Not gonna lie.
10 out of 10. And it's just another, I think now that I've put this project out, it is just another way to connect with people. If you don't drink I've got lipsticks. If you don't do lipsticks, I've got a recipe book. If you don't do either of those, I got music. There's just so many ways I get to connect with people, and I'm humbled by the experience. Just humbled.
Well, and I'll say this as someone that talks to folks for a living and gets to enjoy a drink with folks as well. There's an art to it all. And I think that's the coolest part. There's an art to it all. You're getting to share art in a whole bunch of different mediums, whether that's a drink, a cocktail, lipstick. I mean, you name it, music. It's really cool. And as we wrap up, I am kingsley.com. You can find her on social media as well. The year's only about halfway over at this point. What fun stuff do you have in store for the rest of the year?
I'm moving to London. I'm moving to London in 8 weeks. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to just take on life. I'm single. I'm excited to fall in love with myself again. I'm currently falling in love and enjoying who I am and growing as a person. I think my next step is to just, this is 29 to 30, is to just be present, be right here with the moments, and enjoy every single breath I get to take. That's my next thing. If you're talking about business, well, we got an album to make, and we got music videos to put out, and we got another cocktail book to do, and more merch to make, and more tours to be overseas, and more collaborations to happen. And I want to be on some big name festivals and open for big name people. So there's a lot of good things from here until the end of the year, and I'm just so excited to just breathe this air and take one step in front of the other.
And it sounds like it's going to be a fun journey. It's one that I can't wait to see what happens. And Kingsley, this was a blast. And thanks for sharing a drink with me. It was a good time.
Thank you so much for having me. All of our flubs, this was incredible. Incredible. Great questions. I was so enamored the entire time. Thank you so much.